What's up, guys? Before we get into the episode, I want to let you know we are finally doing our first merch drop at the Unlaced podcast. It's taken us about 100 shows to get there, but we finally have a couple of t-shirts and this beautiful hat that I'm wearing coming to you in the next few weeks. Now, this is going to be an exclusive range. There's not going to be a whole heap of units. So if you guys want to get in quick, there is a link in the episode here. Put in your details. Give yourself the best opportunity to get one of these tees. This is the white faded bony heavy tee. I'm calling it the smiley tee. It's got some of the sayings from the show on the back. And of course, one of my favorites, probably the favorite, is the humanized tee. These are a bit heavy, oversized type t-shirts. You'll absolutely love them. Get amongst them early. I love you all for the support. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Unlaced podcast. Thank you all for turning up. If you are new here, as I always say, I appreciate you. And if you've come back again, I absolutely love you. I feel a little bit out of place here because we are going to be talking about arguably the biggest game in the world and the pointy end of the season, AFL Finals. And who better to do it with than a couple of premierships in the room with Campbell, Brown and Dane Swan. Thanks, boys, for coming on.
Couple of premiership players.
Players?
Yeah.
Did I say player or players?
A couple of premierships.
Oh, a couple of premiership players. Yeah, true. Yeah, you guys, do you reckon you guys played under, I feel like you guys have like Harvard students of AFL because you've played under Malthouse and Clarkson. Like, I was thinking how inferior my knowledge is.
Nathan Buckley.
Nathan Buckley. Yeah, they've left out Bucks, yeah.
It certainly helps, I reckon, when you've had really good coaches, you get a better understanding of what makes a successful team and organisation. It's not just on the field and game plan and structure, but the way that they manage certain players and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Do you have any memorable tussles together?
No, not really. Swanny and I never really crossed paths. We were drafted in the same year, 01.
Super draft.
Surely there was a game where you've been told, like, there's an X on Swanny.
Nah.
Never?
I played on Dids a fair bit and Paul Medhurst, like those dangerous small forwards. Leon Davis, but like even socially for two guys that would go out and about in Melbourne a lot, I never bumped into him too much until recently. Probably the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. I thought the back end of the beginning of the Hawthorn era was kind of like in the mid of Collingwood's.
Yeah.
Maybe just we were playing Friday nights, used to playing Saturdays, so just didn't realize Friday night, and then by the time I was still going by Saturday, I probably wasn't going out into the public. So I was probably fucking...
I do remember one game up at Metricon Stadium, and I was towards the back end of my career, I was at the Suns, I was getting a bit grumpy because all the young Suns boys were learning the caper, and sometimes they had so much talent they wouldn't listen to instructions or anything. I remember I was going off my head one night against the Pies and Swanny ran past me. He goes, "Brownie, settle down. They're just kids, mate. Fucking relax." Do you remember that?
A little bit, yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck you, Swanny, too, mate." Like, it was that laconic and laid back. But mind you, you're up by about 15 goals, which helped. I was watching the ball sail over my head, 70 inside 50s. I'd done me block. Do you actually remember that?
Yeah. Man, they're just kids. Well, I actually felt bad playing against the Gold Coast at GWS. Yeah. So I had against GWS when they were like 17. I reckon I had 40 and kicked 5. And
Did you really?
Yeah. And it was like...
Oh, my God.
It was...
Was it naturally easier or did you just have a day out?
Mate, you playing against 12-year-olds. And we were obviously at our best. So I took them all. I wasn't going to give any back. But I felt it wasn't like a proper game. Like, it was not like playing the Hawthorn proper era or playing against a Geelong or an Essendon or Carlton. You're playing like pre-pubescent, is that the word?
Yeah, well, Josh Bruce reckons it would be illegal now to do what they did back then. He's like 20, 18-year-olds on a field playing against men. He goes, can you imagine that? Like, he goes, because he's 30 now, he's obviously retired or whatever he is. He's like, man, if I was playing against 18-year-old kids now, I'd be like, fuck, this is going to be...
Yeah, well, it wasn't.
Cole Remus kicked 8 against us one day.
That just sums it up. That just sums it up. Yeah, that just sums up how young they were and how bad they were.
Oh, man.
Yeah. They still got paid the same?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are they going to shift actually just on them?
I think that'll be good. I think Dimmer going up there, it's just the perfect sweet spot for him now. Like, he's been there, done that at Richmond, and clearly Richmond would need a rebuild. He goes up there, mate. He's got this beautiful list. Most of the players are retained. You know, they're on contracts. They've got 3 or 4 kids coming out of their academy that I don't haven't seen them, but apparently they're just going to be stars.
Wow.
And so I reckon he's got the makings of a really good club. Now, it doesn't automatically mean that they're going to win a flag, but Dimmers, he knows what he's doing.
You're up there. Is it? So when people go up the Gold Coast to holidays, like it's a bit different to the fishbowl of Melbourne. Like I don't think you would take it as seriously because you're up there. Feel like you'd be on holidays up there. Like is there an element of that? They're just a bit more relaxed and
the pressure in the build up to a game is not there. And obviously, if it's a Collingwood, Hawthorn, Geelong, Essendon, Carlton, like there's build up. Who's going to get selected? The injuries, expectation. You don't have that up there, so it's good for I think players that are already guns because it keeps them quite level. But for young blokes, you want the buzz of it. And when you're playing shit, you don't get the level of criticism, which gives you the rocket to play better.
Yeah.
You can escape.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like the beach. There's like, there's a bit more to do. We're in Melbourne. It's freezing cold. It's footy going, footy in the papers every day. It's like you just can't avoid it in Melbourne. So
Gary Ablett did his hammy, I think, 1 week at training, or was tired or something. Now that would lead Channel 7, that would lead the Herald Sun storyline for the whole 3 or 4 days leading up to the game. Up there it was like 8 pages in the Sport, about this big, Gary Ablett in doubt. So it's just a different mindset.
I heard a story on him when I was up there playing soccer that he would eat like raw broccoli.
Yeah, that's true. Seen it.
Like he just like just like on the bus or something to the game.
Raw sweet potato and carrot. He just pull out.
Didn't want to steam it just before.
Was it raw?
Strainer and just steam it for a quick 15 before.
What was that?
It still had its stem on it.
What was the logic behind that? Just like he just liked it like that.
Yeah. I think he just liked it.
Bit of ranch or something? Not even some ranch?
No dipping sauce.
Okay,
he was a bit different, Gaz.
He was that good back then. Probably 18-year-old blokes would have started eating like raw broccoli or something.
That's why they haven't won. Because only Gaz could do it.
Yeah. No, he had a pretty like the young. I mean, he was the best player, our captain.
He had a prayer group. He had everything.
Yeah, he did. So the young guys would naturally do whatever he wanted. So he didn't jump in the ice bars too often. So it was hard to get the other boys in the ice bars.
God was taking care of his body.
Yeah, like God's taking care of him. Sonny,
God was looking up.
Sonny had his own prayer group.
Yeah. Monday mornings I fucking pray. Sundays.
Baptism. There's a couple of clips that because both of you have been on this show before individually, and I don't think, Brownie, you know about your clip. I might have mentioned Swanny's clip to his, but the clip, I think, Braden, did you do it? No, the other producer we had did it. But it was of you talking about your journey when you were like running on a footy field, and did you make the state team or you didn't make it?
Yeah,
and then the coach just happened to be in the thing there and you spoke about the journey.
Yeah, I remember that. Getting a running coach, a speed coach from under 16s to under 18s because I was too slow.
Yeah, it went viral on YouTube.
Did it?
Yeah, I didn't even know. I looked at it like
it worked.
How much quicker did you get?
A fair bit quicker, but also like just the perception to the coach and the people around you that you'd gone away and worked on something, so it meant something to you.
Yeah, Collingwood got me a running coach.
Did it work?
No. Like they tried to change because obviously I wasn't as graceful as Usain Bolt, just for instance, when I'm running up the straight when I'm running. But so they tried to change to get my technique different but coach said well, when under pressure, when you revert back to how you run in the game. So that's
you don't think
you had pure power from the stoppage.
So I might have run like a duck or whatever it was, but he goes, he's quick enough. He doesn't need to be changed. Yeah.
I would consciously sometimes think because I had the explosiveness, I just didn't know how to harness it.
Yeah, right.
So I think that made the running coach easier because it was there, and rather than fighting with you, every now and then you up straight, relax, put your. And sometimes in a game, not always, but sometimes in a game, if you're going on like a 70-metre chase, you'd start like that, and then all of a sudden, like, get back to that. So I don't know. I think it worked, but I never had the stopwatch out, but I felt quicker.
You had a thing, didn't you? I think Buck said it at you might have your retirement, but like something about 4-600s or this run you always used to do that you're famous for in the club.
I wasn't a particular like amount of running. It's just because I guess I wasn't a great trainer. Although I didn't enjoy training.
Yeah.
Because one, I probably look after myself well, on the weekend, so I was sore for the first 4 days of the week, and it's freezing cold in Melbourne, so I might run around with my hands in my pockets when the footy, and I just booted off it, and I just like chested and booted back. And the other thing is, I fumbled like everyone, and I wasn't perfect. I fumbled and all that kind of. Obviously, I couldn't kick, so I probably needed to be out there a bit more. But I felt like I had decent enough touch. Like I didn't need to be running around doing some straight line work or some circle work, getting a kick and handball onto some like running past me.
Yeah,
like that didn't interest me. But what I did, or what I felt like I now needed to run in the altitude room, in the heat room. So I'd go in. I wouldn't try to go inside, and then I'd run for like 40 minutes through like far leg stuff, to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 meter sprints on, like 21, 22, 23 k's an hour, and I'd just do that for 40 minutes, and that was what I felt I needed. I didn't really care about touching the footies or being cold. That's what I did. So that was my.
Was that like a cheat sheet almost to get like super fit? Did you feel like?
I was never. Well, once again, so I was never. I don't know how you. What was your time trial? Was it 2K, 3K?
2.2.
Yeah, so we did 2K. So, but that wasn't my strength. I had no mental toughness to be able to run for just for 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 6 minutes. So I got bored.
Yeah.
And I couldn't run at the one pace like a Pendlebury or Robert Harvey or Steel Sidebottom who could just do that all day. I couldn't. I'd just get bored and I'd slow up, slow down. Me and Leon would swap past each other about 8 times over the 4 laps. But what I was strong at was my repeat effort stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I was. I don't know. I was actually talking about this before with a guy on my podcast. So I was the most rotated player in the game for 3 years. Wow. So some would say I ruined football because apparently the aesthetics of us, we're up to 150, 160 rotations a game. So apparently people didn't like people running off the ground for some fucking reason. So they brought the cap back. So they basically catered our midfield to my strengths. So that's whether it was a cheat sheet or not. Butters and Mick identified, they actually got it from ice hockey. That ice hockey only stay on the ground for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Just these intense efforts.
So they were like, and keep your intensity and your speed up. And that's what I had. So they went away and devised a plan. This is what we're going to do. Now you obviously don't, mate, when they say, mate, you'll be coming off 3 or 4 times a quarter, I'll be like, get fucked. Well, like you want to be out there all the time. You've come from near where the best place started on the ground. And then you're like, well, I want to touch the ball 30 times. How am I going to do it when I'm on the bench? You got All Australians, best and fairest. You're obviously running for Brownlows most years. So being on the bench doesn't fucking help me.
Yeah, no
but
shit.
Obviously, you start doing your trialing it, and then you're wearing your opponent down from getting tagged, and you're still pretty fresh in the last quarter. Still run with intensity. So yeah, it worked. Yeah. As a game,
before we go into sort of breakdown of the year, but has the game gotten fitter, or is it fitter back in your days? Has it changed in any form from in the last sort of decade that you can clearly see?
I think the players we played with, Crawford and Robert Harvey, those guys were doing 18Ks out of Waverley and stuff. So
just a different type of speed. Yeah. Now they measure like over 30K efforts, over 20K efforts and stuff like that.
Okay. The speed of ball movement certainly is quicker, because players are trained now to move it really fast, which might make it look like the game is going quicker.
Yeah.
But in terms of kilometres covered and speed and all that, I think it's probably pretty even across it.
You'd want to be half fit going into a season though. Like there's no proper old school like footballers who just plod around in a stoppage and plod to the next one. You ain't got any leg speed, or you're not quick of your mind where the ball needs to get to. You're going to struggle. The speed and power they hit at, like people say the game's got weak. It certainly hasn't. Like, the speed and power they hit at and the pace they run at is phenomenal. It's just how much fitter can you get? Like Robert Harvey was how much fitter can you be than Robert Harvey?
Yeah.
Like, Mark Blitzarves runs 5 minutes 30 or something for 2K, which is fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? So there's outliers. He's just a phenomenal athlete, and there's some who probably wouldn't. But I'd say it'd be much of a much. It's just a different type of running you have to do these days.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, for all the listeners at home, Browny and Swanny, obviously superstars at footy, both won flags, Collingwood and Hawthorn legends as such. So I do want to break down a bit of the season and go into the finals, but I just want to start with the bottom 8, Browny, and your mob, Hawthorn. How did you assess their year?
I thought the year was really good. Certainly their last month was outstanding. It's funny how...
Really good. Didn't they finish third bottom?
Yeah, they finished third bottom, but I think that expectation-wise and competitiveness, like they knocked off Brisbane, top 4 side. They beat Collingwood, top of the ladder. They beat the Doggies.
They beat the Saints at one point too.
We're at that stage, we're in the top 8. They beat the Saints. They got some scalps. Young groups are inconsistent. Certainly, like in the off-season, if you trade out Jager O'Meara and Tom Mitchell and you have retirements of, McAvoy and you move on Shields and Howe and Gunston. They lost like just under 1,800 games of experience. And that Clarko goes.
Yeah, Jesus. Good point.
And then you remember it was only after like round 2, so 8 quarters of footy, there was that talk about Hawthorn tanking the way that they've traded away and this and that. Well, I think you can see the natural progression over the course of the season. They brought in some guys that are guns. Warple's back playing some really good footy. Newcomb was great. I think they played some of the young kids. They didn't just gift them games. Sam Mitchell dropped them, brought them back, played them on the wing, the half-back flank, the half-forward flank. Like, he threw the magnets around a bit. And I reckon if you're a Hawk supporter, you wouldn't have finished the season disappointed with what you saw.
Right.
So I reckon it was a pass mark.
What's the report? A, B, C? What would you have given?
Yeah, let's give it.
I'll probably give them a B+ from
expectations.
Yeah, because I thought they might be down the bottom, like North Melbourne and West Coast, but like they were by far the most disgraceful side.
And on the flip side, you look at someone like Essendon who started really well. You say they're dog shit because their last month was fucking horrific.
Mate, that game against
and that's
GWS.
What we remember the last month, not the first one.
Yeah, so recency bias. So Reston looked like the worst side in the league.
Same with the Bulldogs too. They've last few games they were on the way to finals.
It was hard to fathom, mate, what Essendon dished up in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was insane.
Oh, it was disgusting, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dockers for me were probably the most Dockers and Gold Coast Suns because I had the Suns in the top 8 at the start of the year, and I reckon come by. They played the 2 games in Darwin. They beat Adelaide. They beat the Doggies. They're in a really good spot, and they plummeted. And Freo as well.
They started well, didn't they?
Were like, some were calling flag favourites, top 4 and stuff like that.
Didn't they start well though, Freo?
No.
They did. So
they were horrible from the jump.
Okay, right. So it was just expectation.
I think I underestimated. So Tabiner hardly played. They traded out Rory Lobb. They lost a few other players. I think that screwed their forward structure a little bit.
Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, comical maybe for us, but not for North Melbourne fans. Was the last game, which they obviously won. And
I'm a paid up North Melbourne supporter.
Did you end up getting it? Did you actually?
I did. And I'm pretty disappointed in their effort in the last game of the year.
Well, didn't it take forever for the membership to come as well, or something like that?
Yeah, it took about 6 weeks to go.
Yeah, I mean. I'm
not able to secure my grand final ticket either because they haven't made it, so they've just missed out. So that's 500 down the drain.
Is it worth commenting on like them winning that last game and losing potentially that draft pick? Harley Reid
they did lose it.
Yeah. So is that going to be an issue?
I've seen a little bit of talk about it during. Well, it depends on how good Harley Reid's going to be.
Yeah, I guess right.
But I was talking about this earlier as well on my podcast. Like the more players you have in a team sport, the less chance of one person is of making a big impact. Like, so what's the smallest team sport roughly? Basketball? Number one pick usually is going to change your LeBron James. He's going to change your whole franchise. Yeah. Michael Jordan was pick 3, but one player can turn a whole franchise around. I'm not sure. Can anyone off the top of my head name Buddy? But he was pick 3, so he wasn't number 1. But like, can one player? Dustin Martin, he wasn't pick 1. No. So like Petrarca was pick 1.
Petrarca was, yeah.
Was he?
So, but it still took him a little bit of time. He did his knee in his first year, and it took him a bit of time to be the player he is now.
As much as I was disappointed in North Melbourne's effort, I think pick 1. I would trade it. I would always, unless you got a key forward, because I think midfielders are easily replaceable. I would trade out of pick 1 and try and get pick 2, 5, and 10, and try and bank on having 2 good players out of the 3. But I've seen a little bit of talk about it this week. I'm not. I would have tanked if I was North.
Yeah.
I would have taken that one pick, bird in the hand. I would have had.
Mate, it's got to hurt.
Yeah, but lucky kick 9. Like, it's fair effort. I mean, kicking 70 goals in a side to finish
huge
second bottom.
Yeah, they had far less inside 50s a game than Adelaide and Carlton,
right?
And he wasn't too far off Curnow and
he doesn't get to play against North.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
that's a good point.
I reckon the year that they had such a shocking year, they lost some close games. Clarko steps away with the investigation and the mental stress. I reckon a win in the last game of the year to build some momentum into the off-season is important for the whole group and the club.
The players, absolutely. I'm talking about the football department could try and
I'm just thinking
find a way. But the player, no matter what happens, players go out and try.
Yeah.
Like you might get moved in a different position, but players bust their ass because they've got careers on the line.
Yeah.
So it's not like all the players going, we want Harley Reid to come in and take me spot, so I'm going to play no good today. Like players are always trying. It's whether the people above them manipulated and stuff like that. But yeah, North would be wrapped with their win. And then hopefully that springboards them into winning more than 3 games next year.
I reckon what that Wardlaw is going to be a start. Or Sheasel as well. His start to the year was sort of keeping par with Dacos, wasn't he?
Yeah, some good young kids. I mean, the one thing that's probably changed between when we got drafted to now is that players that do get drafted, they're ready made to step straight into the AFL and have an impact. Like,
that's a good point.
We probably needed games in the VFL and develop your body, learn training standards, how to eat, all that sort of stuff for 12, 18 months. Very rarely did a player just step straight in and go bang like Juddy did, but it was rare.
That would have been about it.
Well,
Even Ablett, was it?
No,
what have they done different to do that though?
I think they're better prepared.
Right.
Their training's better, their diet's better. They're almost in a half AFL program from quite a young age, so they just learn professionalism, everything.
Even things like managers managers start recruiting kids at 15, 16. Like,
yeah.
You know, like, no one talked to me till a day before the draft.
Yeah.
So they get to an AFL club, they're not overawed.
Yeah.
Training's a bit harder, but they just slot straight in, and then they get a game in round 1 or 2 of their first season, and they're picking up 25, 30 touches. You go, fucking hell,
and doing it every week almost.
Yeah, so that's the one thing that I think that kids drafted now are more capable of stepping straight in, and the jump's not as big.
That's the thing that shocks me though, just with being a kid, even though if they can do it, is being consistent. Some of them, I think that's hard. I think you get consistent as you get a bit more mature, don't you? Like you know how to balance it, but they're kind of doing it every week.
That's what I mean. They're trained from diets, weights. So when we were coming up, there was like a diet. You're kidding, as a 17-year-old, like, please, weights,
started
stick that up your ass.
AFL career.
Just go and play footy. Like now it's like they have set schedules. They have like managers. They have like PTs telling them what to do. Their bodies are filled out. Like skin folds are on point when they first get drafted. Like none of that shit happened when we were around.
Yeah.
We were just like, kids. And it happened and we get drafted and then away you go.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on the bottom 8 because you boys love September. But I just do want to just quickly mention West Coast because I don't know. I wanted to ask you boys, are they on the cusp of being in that sort of Melbourne era through that sort of mid-2000s?
On the cusp of being relegated.
Yeah, or are they? Is there a possibility that they can have a fix here and come back next season and jump, or are they that far gone?
No, they're horrific. No,
really?
they're going to be
his face then.
they're going to be down there a while.
Yeah, they're that bad.
Yeah. No, I agree with Swanny.
Well, I think you might have said Freo, but biggest disappointments for the year.
Because everyone expected West Coast to be on the bottom, but maybe not as bad as they were.
I think it's the worst season of football by a club in the history of the game.
Whoa.
Fitzroy, South Melbourne. I think so. Statistically wise, until the last 3 or 4 weeks when they got competitive, they were abysmal.
Senior players just fell off a cliff, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, I reckon they held on to them a bit too much and rewarded them by winning the flag because they won the flag in 18. I reckon they gave them probably 1 or 2 more years than they needed, and that stunted all their young kids' development. Then they'll come in COVID. They had some COVID problems last year, like the rest of us, but mate, they were just.
Oscar Allen's a star. Yeah. He had a great year. Yeah. Tim Kelly had a really good year. McGovern showed in the last game that he's still really important to him.
You got a couple of Hewitt and Gibney now showed a little bit. They're obviously very young, and when you're getting smacked, it's hard to play well, but.
I can't see him sort of winning 6 games next year.
Early in the year, they were an easy side to bet against. So against the line was just, mate, you could lay them every day of the week. Very easy.
Yeah, your betting's unbelievable. So you should see some of his, like, the science multis that he's done and the various sports he's involved.
That's how I do my math.
Yeah.
Ones and sixes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's fascinating. All right, I want to go into the finals because that's what we're here to talk about, and probably start with the bottom 4, I think 5th versus 6th, Carlton Swans. Starting with Sydney, are they a sniff here at all in the final series as such?
On paper, it doesn't look like it, does it? Carlton have obviously, they obviously lost on the weekend, but they had nothing to play for. But I can't find a way how Sydney are going to beat Carlton in the MCG. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
No, they're very lucky. Sydney shouldn't even be in the finals. Adelaide should be in it.
Yeah, I don't, where do they come from? They popped up.
Adelaide got fucked from the goal and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see Geelong Mad Monday?
They do it very good, don't they?
They're the best. I think like the good thing about those bottom 8 sides are they've all come in ripping form. So like GWS have won 9 of the last 11.
Yeah.
Carlton found form and were terrific. Sydney, came from the clouds. And the Saints have been probably the most consistent of that lot. So they all have played really good footy, but they're a fair bit below the best of the top 4. So unless, something untoward happens and there's some heaps of injuries or a side plays out of its skin and they win a close one, out of those, the bottom 4, I can see Carlton doing some damage. If
maybe
Curnow gets going and Cripps has a blinder and, they've got Wiedering down back. They've got, the structure at their best to be, dangerous.
And they've got the right pathway too to get to a prelim because they play the loser out of Collingwood and Melbourne. So let's just stay on the MCG. Yes. They're not going to have to go to Port or Brisbane to win the second final.
Carlton, as we've seen, they can beat both those teams or they can contest anyway.
Well, yeah, they got the Pies when they weren't trying in the last 5 weeks.
You had to get that.
And, Carlton weren't trying on the weekend. Look what happened. Fucking no Carlton supporters. No, I hear Carlton supporters all saying, we had nothing to play for. Well, fucking Collingwood were on top. We'll kill them come out of top 2 of the 5 weeks to go. So that's exactly what happened to them. So
motivation's a big thing, isn't it?
Of course it is. Absolutely. And it's hard to stay, especially intrinsically motivated when you're like, I'm not going to go back to 5. I'm going to stick my nose over that. In 3 weeks, I've got finals to play for it. But can you flick the switch? We'll find out next Thursday night.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll get to that game, so I don't want to ruin you.
Well, just before I jump into, because I love hearing Swanny talk about Carlton because he can't stand him, but Buddy retiring, just to get your sentiment on his career. Do you know what? I didn't realise how young he was when he was that good, because probably I was a bit younger then, but the year he kicked 100, what was he, 21?
Yeah, it was his 4th season. He got drafted.
Mind-boggling to me.
His first year was 05. 05 and 06 he was good. 07 he really came of age. I think he kicked 70-odd goals and kicked 7 in that final against Adelaide.
Yeah.
And then 08's the year he kicked 120 goals or something.
I think is it Hodgie or Jordan Lewis spoke about it, where they're like, I think they were asked, it was a really good question, like, when did you sort of realise Buddy was this big sort of superstar? And it was one of those first finals that Hawthorn made, and he kicked a 7 or 8 against someone.
Goal he kicked on the buzzer was...
He kicked like 4 in the last quarter or something.
Yeah,
just blew it up. And
that was his first, our first final, collectively as a group. And we were playing okay, but we just, no one could hit the scoreboard except Buddy.
Yeah.
And Chris Massey was playing on him, which was an unusual matchup, but he just...
It's a nice way of putting it.
Rubbing his hands together.
And we would go forward and if Bud didn't kick a goal, we couldn't score, and he kicked 7 that day, including the match winner. So he was a freak, Bud. But one of my favourite Buddy stories, he always had the arc.
Yeah.
He'd run down the arc, and it was a little bit inaccurate early in his career. And the great Jason Dunstall, who was on the board and everything at the club, probably outside of Tony Lockett, one of the better set shots a goal in the history of the game. He grabbed Bud over the pre-season. He said, mate, I'm going to help you, with your goal kicking accuracy. And you're in awe of Bungle, right? For what he's done. And so to get him to not run on the arc, he got the little cones, and he made like a laneway. And he said to Buddy, you can only come in straight between the cones. You can't go out of the cones. And Buddy shanked the first one, shanked the second one, gets all flustered, shanks the third one. 4th time he's coming in, he's got Dunstall there on the mark, does an arc, beautiful, goes straight over the top of the goal. I almost had from 50, and it's a goal, right? And Chief goes, Buddy, mate, you can't do that. This is what I've said. And he goes, fuck off, Dunstall. You're just trying to sabotage me because you know I'm going to break your record one day.
That is gold.
This is a bloke who's like 19, his second year of footy, right? He's saying to the Chief, tongue-in-cheek, obviously, and Chief just laughed. He said, mate, some players are best just to be left alone to do their thing. You know, we can overcoach players to their detriment, and that's just a great buddy story.
That's legendary. Better from the bad pocket. You feel like he kicked him better from the wrong side for a left footer too.
Like running out and bringing it back left to right.
That natural swing he had on the ball was pretty it's almost like a cheat sheet as well because you could kind of keep it straight.
It's sad to see him retire, but I think the timing was right. I would have hated him to have
gone 1 year too long.
Or gone to another club like a Gold Coast or something and played 5 or 6 games. I think it was. I mean, he did his calf. So he didn't get the send-off he would have liked, but what a career.
Yeah.
Buddy and Dusty at Gold Coast next year. Better put some bumps on seats, wouldn't they?
Is there a chance with Dusty or no?
I don't think so, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, pretty good place to live.
Yeah, I'd hate to see him put on another jumper because he's quintessential Richmond in an era where
I wouldn't leave with the contract he's on. It's all back-ended, isn't it, really? So
he deserves to finish as a one-club player.
Yeah. Hey legends, just a quick break in this episode to thank our partners, Dabble, the gambling agency, where you dabble socially and gamble responsibly. Please only bet what you can and are willing to lose. Now, Dabble is one of the great platforms out there. I absolutely love using it. Very similar to Instagram, where you can follow some of the head honchos in the different sports, copy their bets and get some good wins on the board. Now, fortunately for me, I've been working with Dabble for over a year. This year, we are doing a stream every Tuesday night. It's called Jake's Take. It's from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. where you can go in the Dabble app. You can join me. We get guests on every week. We bet on the dogs. We have an absolute ball, and they're talking about sport and cutting up the shop around what's going around town across all codes. So come on down, check it out. Dabble socially, gamble responsibly, and let's get back into the episode. Swanny's favourite team, Carlton. I don't know what happened with them, but
I think they win. Yeah,
they switched a flick through the year. Have they actually broken a shackle? Like they're off this hoodoo finals? Can they have a run at this
still got to win one. I think a bit like what Brownie said. I think the top 4 are clearly the best 4, and I think that will be the prelims. But they're in it. Like Bulldogs have done it from 5th or 6th sense. So history says at some stage someone will do it again. Will it be this year? I would say no, but I think the top 4 have been easily the best sides all year, and obviously Carlton are coming home with a wet sail, so GWS, but I think there's levels to this, and I think we'll find out come next weekend.
Vossi was under some pressure like mid-year, wasn't he? I don't know what happened, but he's come out looking like a champion.
Yeah, he stayed the course, didn't he? Like he was pretty resolute. It's the Carlton. It's the Carlton faithful that turn the quickest. It's not the outside media bubbling away. It's the Carlton people.
Yeah,
so it's always been the case with Carlton. For whatever reason, they eat their own. And you're right. That was about round 10 or 11. Mate, they were itching to get rid of him.
Well, it was pretty close.
So how quickly it can turn now. They're the exact same people are getting carried away and, patting him on the back. It's good passion, but sometimes
they get beat by 10 goals to Sydney to be fucking. He can't coach finals. He can't coach finals. Get rid of him. Get rid of him.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm sure they'll figure it out. I think I've always thought their team was pretty good. It wasn't sure about they've got these A graders, and then it was that bottom sort of percentage, if that gap, which I think that affects you in premierships. I mean, not that I would know.
No, it's absolutely. You've got role players. It's not. If your bottom 5 are hopeless, you get found out in finals. Yeah. So you need them to pull their way for sure.
And you're spot on, like those bottom 5. So like Paddy Dow, say, been playing VFL, or he comes in, mate, starts playing good footy. Fisher, who was dropped, chuck him on the wing, 30 touches. They get Newman back on a halfback flank. His last 5 or 6 weeks was huge.
He gets a lot of footy.
So your guns were doing their thing still. Curnow was still kicking his goals. Cripple was still doing his thing. Wiedering was still doing his thing. But it's those player 15 to 23 that if they can elevate themselves a little bit, you start becoming a really good side.
It makes the Stars' jobs easier. Yeah, so they don't have to do too much. They can just do what they usually do.
Yeah. You both got Carlton in that one then?
Yep.
St Kilda Giants, it's a fairly big game. Have St Kilda that back end of the season, have they slipped too much here to recover in the finals?
Saints.
Yeah. They lost it. They lost quite a.
I like GWS in this game.
Yeah, I think GWS are great, but I think they're favourites.
Are they?
Yeah,
that's
sure they deserve. I reckon they deserve it.
$1.85.
Coming in pretty good form.
Yeah. I think they're. I don't know if Sam Taylor plays, it'll make a big difference. He's obviously he didn't play, but I think they're playing a good brand of footy. Saints is just for me a little bit.
You just don't know
boring.
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't.
It's typical St Kilda at times.
Yeah, but I think GWS have a better side, so that's why I think they'll win it.
Would you say, and obviously this is me talking from not the same background, but Toby Green, I feel like he's one of the most influential in the comp, aside from Jeremy Cameron, maybe the most.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be the All-Australian captain.
Him and Bont will be captain and vice captain in whatever order.
He's a freak, mate. Like, if he's not kicking goals, he's setting them up. He's involved in all their score chains.
Yeah.
Somewhere with a little handball or a smart kick to the pocket.
And he's not 6 foot. He's not Charlie Kerner. He's not 6'6" who could jump over heads. He's not, an elite Isaac Smith. He's not an elite running wingman. He's just sort of, he's a nice size, but he plays above his height. And he's phenomenal. He's a matchman I don't think St Kilda have.
Yeah.
So he's one of the reasons why.
We'll probably get Jimmy Webster, I reckon we'll go to him and just try and wear him like a glove, which will be a good matchup because
very good.
He's
Jimmy
pretty
Webster,
good defender.
He's shut down a few big plays in his time, for sure.
Adam Kingsley's probably, he's done a great job in his first season to turn them around.
Yeah.
Because they were going downhill pretty quick.
Mid-year.
Josh Kelly's playing good footy again. Caniglio.
Bedford would be a big out if he doesn't.
Yeah. What do you get a week?
Yeah. You reckon?
I thought it was stiff, but I think everyone's stiff to get rubbed out. Harry Himmelberg down back, is good. And
Jesse Hogan kicked. He had to fill up against the Bombers.
They kicked 270 points in 2 weeks.
They've become
had 50
They got a measly
shots.
defence, and they got a really strong offence. And so, I think
Tom Green's a ball inside.
I've got them. Yeah, I'm with Swanny here. I think they'll win. It'll be a real arm wrestle for a while because
the way the Saints play.
Ross he's no slouch in the coach's box, but eventually the class and the work rate of GWS will break the game open at some stage, I think.
Yeah.
And they'll win.
What if the Saints are going to win? What is it that they've got to do against this GWS team?
Well, you've got
what
to score.
They've got.
I think you have to score 80 points as far as I'm concerned for the Saints. That's their number. If they can kick 80, they win. How they do that? Higgins, Butler.
Because who'll go to King?
Membry. They just...
Yeah, they got to kick. And I think they got to slow down their ball movement.
Is it too
the orange tsunami can flick around and they move. They move pretty well. So if they can stifle their ball movement, which Ross Lyon's good, playing footy in the phone booth and make it a real slow, boring. He wants a boring, slow ass old game. One that's aesthetically horrible to watch. You're like, fuck, this sucks. But if GWS get on their terms where they're running and gunning and the tsunami as they call it, I think they'll be too good.
So
both Saints need to win 60-50 or something like that.
Yeah. I think I was looking at some stats the other day. They've kicked 80 points 9 occasions and won all 9. So but in an elimination final, you're right, it might be even less than that. They've been a bit. The only time that they've kicked 10 goals in the quarter or something was that first quarter against the Hawks. And I told all my mates that the game would be low scoring. And so they were back the unders, right? So, and I was getting abusive texts, 8-minute mark of the first term, which is not ideal.
I bet. So both going GWS there. Yep. Beautiful. Melbourne Collingwood is the flag winner in this game.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe whoever wins this wins the flag.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that.
And this is as a Collingwood fan, this is probably the one side I didn't want to play.
Yeah, I agree.
Collingwood need to flick the switch again. But why I believe the flag comes from here because I don't believe Melbourne can beat Collingwood. I don't believe Brisbane can beat Melbourne or Collingwood on the MCG Grand Final day.
Yeah,
and I think Brisbane will win their 2 prelims, go to the granny, and I think it'll be Melbourne or Collingwood in the granny against them. So I don't think Melbourne or Collingwood can go to Brisbane in a prelim either. I know they've got form, they've dropped finals there, but I think it's a very, very hard way to go about it because then you've got to play Carlton technically Brisbane. That's a tough way to go. Then you got to replay Melbourne or something in the granny. But I know I'm obviously Collingwood, but I generally think it's a coin flip. If they both play their best, Collingwood win easy. It's just I don't know whether Collingwood can get back to their best.
Who's Collingwood's out for that game? Is it just still?
They'll
Is it
get
still
McCreary back.
Darcy Moore.
Dacos he'll miss this
He'll
game,
probably
won't he?
miss.
Oh yeah,
That would be risking. He'd definitely be in for the second chance if they lost or win
play him as
if
a
they-
sub.
That's true.
If they're worried about, I think I might pop in and have a look in the next week. But if they're just worried about his legs, he's like one of the fittest at the club. He doesn't need too much, so maybe they're playing a bit like
playing checkers.
yeah.
Hey.
I would not surprise me if he plays.
I love
Right.
that.
Yeah, but I don't know. But I just he's running already. So
He's the
like,
type of
if
guy
he's
that would
running
come
now,
back, wouldn't he, Dacos?
well, if he's running now, I don't know what else he needs. Like if his leg's healed, he wouldn't be running unless his leg was fine. He might. Oh no, so this may surprise some, but I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm not a doctor.
Not a doctor.
Yeah. But it's a huge game. 100,000 there of 90 odd. It's a coin flip, but I think Collingwood. I think a bit recency bias. They've been ordinary the last week. They did have fill up against a side that's horrific, but if they can get back to that pressure and get back to anywhere near their best is good enough.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, that 15-game period at the first 15 rounds, whatever, with Collingwood, I think that's like as good as footy as I've seen since Richmond.
Yeah.
Like they were that good. It was that invincible, even though some games were tight.
Listen, everyone has lulls. No one's gone through a season undefeated.
Yeah.
Like people, and we had nothing to like Collingwood had nothing to play for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So,
And then the injuries hit as well, which compounds it,
yeah, it's
Is it a good
they're all
thing,
massive
though, that,
games
like,
to their finals.
Did they they say get a clip on the wing before you go into finals? Not a bad thing, but like they got clipped a few times.
We
That's the
got
only
clipped a
thing.
bit, so maybe just the odd one would be right. But Fly's done a terrific job. I'm sure he'll have them primed for next. I don't know whether they had extra training loads because I knew they couldn't. So all these kind of things, they train a bit harder during the week so they could have the week off and then be fresh, be fitter for finals. So all those kind of things. I did hear that they were training a bit harder than what they usually would if they needed to win. So maybe that played into them being flat in games. Who knows? We've all got excuses, but the proof will be in the pudding next Thursday night. They come out and get smoked. Well, they won't go out in straight sets, but that's the end of their premiership campaign, I believe.
Yeah.
The Melbourne forward line is the fascinating one because I know the Goody has been having sleepless nights about what it looks like most of the year, and they haven't. Every time they thought they got it right,
Always having sleepless nights.
I reckon. Every time they thought they got it half right, they threw Petty forward and he had that great game, kick 6 or 7, gets injured, done for the season. They lost Bailey Fritsch.
They might have lost him again. Is he all going to be
no, he'll be right.
He'll be right.
But Jakey Melksham does his ACL. And
that's
shocking.
Sort of mean you play these games, meaningless games. Like, no, you can't help an ACL, but sometimes you just like to not play him so everyone gets through.
Yeah. So they've constantly been, Van Rooyen, Tom McDonald's
Brody
played
Grundy,
VFL.
any chance?
Grundy.
He's been formed.
He's just not a forward. Yeah. So if you're trying to bring him in as a pure forward to do a pinch hit in the ruck, he's never. I mean, you played with him. Yeah. Does he ever go forward and take a catch and kick a goal? Very rarely.
He kicked a couple, didn't he, on the weekend in VFL?
He kicked 3.
But mate, I could still kick a goal in VFL. A goal, not multiple goals.
I love that. I love that.
Mate, they're all 18-year-olds. You could go out there and take a punt. But I'm not sure. Looking back, hindsight, do you reckon he would have went there in hindsight?
No chance. But he'll probably lob in either Sydney or Port Adelaide next year.
So he's going to watch going to his knee in the first game next year.
That'd be a disaster. Yeah. So I don't know. Where Melbourne's goals come from. Like if you're relying on Bailey Fritsch to kick 5 again to win a qualifying final.
Might not happen.
It's going to be hard, So
any players?
I think they have to win for their defense. They have to stop us with May and Lever. They have to keep it low, in my opinion. Because that's their 2 bookends. They killed us in the last game, but Collingwood didn't have. I think they'll have 6 different from the game they played into this week. So it's a brand new ball game.
Collingwood's forward line kind of weirds me out a little bit because
similar to Melbourne,
so
we don't
dynamic.
have
like all of them can kick 2 or 3. No one's going to kick maybe 7 or 8.
Big, Charlie Curnow type. Like my chest plays above his weight.
Yeah,
like Dan McStay. meant to come over as the number one banana. He probably hasn't said the word a lot, but he's done what he's needed to do. Then we got the greatest finals performer of all time.
Yeah.
Big Mason Cox.
Big Mason Cox.
USA.
USA. Mate, if he fucking turns out like he's still hanging his hat on that prelim in 2018 where he tore it
He's
apart.
the type of guy, because of his natural confidence he has. I can't believe how confident he
He's got
is.
fucking plenty of that,
Yeah,
let me tell you.
Well, this is where you're gonna need it now. So
Yeah, I don't even know if he'll play, but
that's a good point.
but he's tall,
Yeah, he's
so
massive.
that helps.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather will be like, but yeah. So we rely on Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, you know, all those kind of guys. Bo McCreary puts on a lot of pressure. Goals from our mids, Geordie Tagoe. So,
Swanny, do you get nervous when Billy Frampton has the ball in his hands? Because I'm not even a Collingwood supporter, mate, and I shit myself where it's going to go.
I get
He
nervous
seems to
sometimes.
always fuck it up.
just a handball,
Just a handball.
Yeah, just get it off. Get it off. He might not play either,
Right.
Because Darcy Moore comes in, Bo comes in,
Yeah.
Nick Dagos maybe, and there's one more that didn't play on the weekend that I forgot, but obviously Darcy's the big one. So they're a different side when Darcy, Geordie, and all that are playing.
Yeah.
Geordie loves finals too, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's recording.
He's going to need to be good for
very
him.
good. Well,
Yeah.
He's our most important player.
Yeah.
I'm with the Pies.
Yeah,
Are
he's
you on Pies, are you?
Yeah, Pies. Pies 1 to 39.
Just.
Yeah.
I don't know
Just.
what is the line. Pies 1 to 39 for me.
It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a blockbuster. Port Brisbane. This is going to be an interesting one too, because Port have had a pretty stellar year for a young team, and then Brisbane's run home sort of has captured everyone a little bit as well. But they've been
Line's
pretty
1.5.
strong.
You wouldn't want the Pies to win by 1.
1.5. Oh, jeez. Yeah, the Gabatoir, where the Lions are bloody hard side to beat.
If they could win at the G, are they as good as Collingwood?
Yeah, but that's the unknown, right? Like they just haven't done it for a while. Their wins down here have been at Marvel.
Yeah.
I reckon they're starting to play their best footy. If timing is anything, their last couple of weeks have been great. So Lockie Neal's back playing some good footy, for me, the Brisbane Lions have been always a premiership chance. But if Joe Danaher lights up, they win it. It's
Really?
yep.
He's that
And
good,
if he
is
doesn't get a kick, which he's just as likely to do as well, then they're going to be, because I personally don't trust Derek Hipwood
You're not worried about their
to
form
kick
on
a bag.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
You're not worried about the MCG form?
A little bit, but I just reckon their form. So I reckon they lost a close one in their last game down here at the G, which was as good as a win. If that sounds a bit silly, but and since then they've been really good.
Got people Hawthorn on the G.
Yeah,
But Hawthorn are one of the better sides in the comp. They're one of the
grand
form
final
sides.
day. I think.
You're not going to be overawed?
Oh,
How did you know? How do we know? But
yeah. I just think that for them, more than any other side in the top 8, like Joe Danaher. I'm not saying Joe Danaher will bust because they've got good sides, but like if he clunks them and kicks straight, doesn't miss from the top of the goal square, right? And in a grand final, does what a young Tomahawk did.
Yeah.
Like kicks 4 or 5 and sets up a couple and they win it.
Really? So he's their key in a sense.
Yeah.
They're a pretty dynamic side to watch. Like they're pretty quick and ferocious.
And they're very quick because they play on a hard deck up there. It's why a bit shifty underfoot at the MCG. So, but yeah, Melbourne. I think this is probably the easiest game to pick. I think Brisbane win is easy.
Really? Just on Port, if they are going to lose, their midfield for the next sort of 5-6 years could be
Absolutely, yeah, mate.
could be as good. But
Butters, Rosie, and Horn Francis, they're if they're not stars now. Well, Butters will be all Australian. He might win the Brownlow, but I'm not sure the other two
Did
will
Rosie
be.
get the 44? No? It was just Butters?
I imagine so. I don't know.
I think Connor Rosie was in there in the mix as well.
Mate, watching Rosie
been a good
live,
player.
he's very
They hit the
James Hurd or
scoreboard
something.
too, like they're goal-kicking midfielders, all three of those guys, which is rare, like.
Yeah, because they throw Rosie forward because they know he's just going to grab a goal here and there, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Charlie Dixon will be back. He's their big barometer up forward. They got that Ollie Lord. I don't really know much about him, but
Nothing.
yeah.
In fact, I've never heard of his name before.
I was watching him on Ollie Lord. He's got long hair. I was watching him on the weekend because mate, they nearly fucked me Maldives against the Tigers. But
Marshall, he looks like
he's a good
Marshall.
player.
Yeah, he's young. He's bloody.
And they'll get Georgiadis back next year as well. I know he hasn't played all year with that injury, but mate, he's a good player
That's
too.
a free pickup almost.
Finn
coming back
Lacey.
in.
I No, they've done nothing wrong all year. They're just playing Brisbane up in the Gabba, and I think, like Brownie said, Brisbane are primed for a big finals run. They've sort of laid an egg the last couple of years up there. But yeah, no, I think Brisbane get this done. I think Port win the next one. They'll go home win one. Then they've got to come to Melbourne and play Melbourne or Collingwood in a prelim.
Yeah.
Is the way I
think the AFL would be absolutely wrapped with the finals teams because you've represented. You've got a couple of interstate teams, a couple of the Sydney teams that they're trying to do well. Some big Melbourne clubs as well. And so, like, from a holistic point of view, if you put your Gil McLaughlin hat on, you're pretty excited for what the final series, is going to produce.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a few quick fire questions, which should be a bit of fun. But I just want to ask from a player point of view, when you boys were there, this sort of period now going into finals, like, what was sort of your headspace like coming out of that home and away? I know some of the boys had a few days off and they've gone away, but they're coming back in now. They got the week off, and then
we didn't have that.
You didn't have that.
We didn't have the week off, so we rolled straight into it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's I believe the week off should be before the granny.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So much momentum coming into this now. It's just a flat week, or get all the award seasons done now, so then people can focus on the footy.
Does this flat week help anyone?
Help sides that are hurt.
That are hurt.
Yeah, so if Nick Dacos plays,
so Collingwood, it can help.
Well, if Nick plays,
every day counts. Doesn't it? This time of year.
It helped the Bulldogs in 16. They were all broken. They come back and then went on this magical run. But if someone gets concussed in a prelim and they don't play in the granny because of it, you know what I mean? So I'd much rather have your two best sides have 2 weeks off, or 14 days off, and hopefully being at their freshest and at their peak for a grand final. So that's what I believe, because like Collingwood, Carlton, or blokes sides who haven't had much to play for in the last 4 or 5 weeks, they're just been floating. Then they get another week. So, but yeah, we didn't have much time to think about it. We rolled straight in. You'd have a dinner on the Monday or Tuesday night, like a pump up video and all that shit, and then away you go.
Is that better as a player when it's like that? Less time to think. You just kind of in routine.
We'd never had the bye leading into it, so we knew no different. But it's the most exciting. I remember no matter what age you are, I didn't play finals for my first 5 or 6 seasons, and you just bloody pumped that, the weather's a bit better. Big games, there's good horse races are started, so a couple of Group 1s. Yeah. And this is what you play for, it's do or die, pretty much from here on in. So, yeah.
Does anything change on the footy field with finals? Because I know the outside expectation intensifies, and then obviously if you lose, you can be out. But from the actual standard of footy that you played in the home and away, does that jump up a notch as well?
Yeah, just the intensity jumps up a notch. Yeah. It's not as much easy ball early on. Yeah,
right.
A lot more contested, slows down a little bit because the intensity goes up a little bit. Yeah.
So, do you guys have obviously, Swanny, you've had some pretty big final series, and obviously Brownie, you've been a part of it as well. But do you guys have respect for blokes that stand up in finals and haven't been there?
Yeah, of course.
Knowing how hard it is.
That's what you sort of end up being big defined games, as a footballer.
Yeah, you play well. You want to play well in big games. Certainly, you want to go missing.
Yeah,
well, that's what it is. Cause
people still remember people going missing in grand finals to this day, don't they?
Friday night
forever.
Yeah, but Leon Davis, I love the bloke, but I still remember for one of the grand finals, he had a touch or something.
That's what I mean. So that's what it's about. And these are the games. But thankfully, like Collingwood, Carlton, you're playing big games. So you're playing Anzac Day, so you sort of Collingwood, Carlton, you're playing in front of 90,000. So it's not the same, but you have sort of an idea of what you're running out into. So, for the clubs if St Kilda haven't played in the final, a lot of them, they walk out and they're playing GWS, so they're probably not going to get 80,000. But you walk out, if GWS, they play in front of 15,000 every week up there, come out in front of 90,000 and you go, fuck, then that might be a little bit daunting. But someone like Toby Green, I would imagine he would lift. He loves all that shit. So, yeah, of course, it's what your name's made on. Look at Dustin Martin. He's going to go into one of the greatest players of all time because of what he did in his CV isn't like a Gary Ablett. He doesn't have 8 All-Australians or 8 best and fairest or 5 Brownlows, but what he's got is 3 premierships, 3 Norm Smiths.
Yeah, I always quote whenever he comes up in conversation. I always quote you how you sort of say it because I think you summed up. He's the best finals player of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think he's played like 14 finals. Has been best on in 12 of them or something.
Yeah, 3 Norms, like three.
And what elevates that even more is he was at a footy club that had been so starved of success for so long.
Yeah,
and he did it at Richmond.
Yeah, that's a good
when
point.
They hadn't won a final for.
Yonks.
Since 1980.
Yeah, they were like the Carlton of now, in a sense.
And so
like,
he's the man that just did it. He just got the job done. So, every moment in a final seems to be amplified a bit. Like in a home and away game, you miss a tackle and it results in a shot on goal. Like, it's important, but it's not the be all and end all.
Might get reviewed by your club on a Monday, but then it's not getting hammered on fucking Monday or by the papers.
Whereas you miss a tackle on the wing and Petrarca ends up hitting someone up and he goes back and kicks a goal and 70,000 Melbourne supporters roar, right? As a player, like you feel about this big. And it's just there's a lot more of those moments in finals that matter. You know what I mean? Like the little things.
They all matter.
Yeah, they all do. Yeah. I got a few quick fire ones here for you boys, which should be fun. But who's your smoky here? Obviously not the favourite, but who's your smoky to win this? That's in the 8.
I'd say GWS.
GWS, really?
Well, I'm not going to say one of the top 4 because
I think anyone outside Melbourne, Collingwood, I'd class as a smoky here.
Well, Brisbane then.
Brisbane, yeah.
I'll say Carlton.
Okay,
yeah.
Carlton.
I don't think they will, but if there's going to be a real blowout, maybe them if they catch fire.
Who? Well, we said Melbourne, Collingwood. Who are you going there?
Who do I think wins the flag?
Win the flag, yeah.
I'm going to say Collingwood.
Collingwood, yeah.
I'm going to say Brisbane.
Brisbane, really? You're backing in this Joe Daniel
Well,
train.
I tipped them at the start of the year. Like they were 650. I wanted to jump off them in the middle of the year, but I didn't. And now they're every chance. So, if it's Joe Daniel or a bust for me.
I tipped Collingwood Brisbane to beat
Did you?
Did you? Really? Who's Brownlow? Is it Petrarca's now or is it Dacos?
No, I think Dacos wins it.
Really?
Yep.
Fuck me. Imagine if he does. What did miss? His legend goes up even more with the amount of
they
games.
won a lot of games, the Pies. So if not Nick, I'd love to see Bonapelli win it, I think.
Yep.
I said if Bonapelli played for Collingwood, his name would be the biggest in Australian sport. Like he'd be like up there with Dustin Martin. He'd be on fucking billboards everywhere. Yeah. It's just he plays at a club that doesn't get a lot of recognition. No one really goes to watch him. So, and it's a bit like Paddy Cripps last year, like, tip your cap and go, well deserved. Like, he was a much deserving Brownlow play, carried Carlton on his back when they were horrific for so long. Bonapelli's a bit the same. I'd love to see him win it, but I think Nick probably just holds on. I'm
gonna make a prediction, right? This is purely just for
this.
Brownlow night. It's round 24. Dacos had been up by sort of 10, right? And then he got injured and Bont chips away. Because he got at least 2-3 voters, right? Yeah. So you can see him creeping up the board, and it gets to round 24. Doggies, Geelong.
What's he down by?
He's down by 3 wins it.
Yeah.
2 draws it.
Oh, no.
And 1, he loses by a point, and he gets 1 vote. Because I think Rory Lobb or Adam Treloar will probably poll that, right? I'm not an umpire, obviously, but I reckon Bont's in the mix. Yeah. Oh my That's God. How good this count could be this year, if that happens, right? Yeah. Bont gets one.
Butters played really well
in the last game of the year too. Yeah, so it'll be a great count. But yeah, that's we can.
So Nick's going to have to hold on.
Imagine that comes through.
And if he's sitting there, the whole count.
This is getting clipped. Yeah.
So we'll see how this might be a good little timeline.
Well, boys, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. A big time of year for everyone. So. There you have it, guys. Finals footy coming your way. Thanks, Brownie and Swanny, for coming on the show. We'll see you all next week.
Enjoy Burning Man.
Burning Man. I might not come back alive.
Enjoy having a burn.
We'll see you later, guys. Thank you.
Use a condom.